Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here. I really, truly do appreciate your ongoing support. Your comments are amazing and wonderful. The thumbs up are fabulous. So thank you very, very much. Okay, you're seeing this on the 26th. Tomorrow, if you live in the United States and celebrate, is Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to those who it applies to. Canadian, of course, so we celebrated ours in October. Okay. Um, I saw by some of the comments that there's a lot of sort of anger uh, towards Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not saying it's not justified. I'm just saying. Um, and mostly people were really angry about her staying long enough to get her pension. So I did receive, there is this in the comment section that is interesting. Um, so I'll just read it. She's getting out of Congress effective January 5, 26, which, although is 5 years of service, doesn't meet the age of at least 62. With 5 years of service in order to receive a pension. So, no, she won't get a pension. She will need to be at least 50 years old with 20 years experience in order to get the pension. In this instance, she has the age, but not the required years of service. But she will have access to her TSP to draw on, which is like 401k. So, just putting it out there. But thank you for that comment, whoever sent it. Thank you. Okay. So I was sort of cruising along through YouTube the other day, and I started making a note of some of the stuff that's going on with 45. I'm just going to read them off, and then we're going to take a peek. The first one is the economy. Ring of Fire. Um, they the economy is doing well right now only because it's sort of like in an AI bubble, okay? And what has to do well for them to say the economy is doing well is the stock market. It has nothing to do with how much you're paying for bill, milk and bread and bacon and gas. So there you have that. But what was really, really interesting was that they expect the economy, this bubble, to burst, frankly, fairly soon. And at that point, you will see, according to this, up to a 20% decrease in the strength of the economy, or what money is valued at. Thing that's really interesting, and part of what's causing this I got that wrong. The drop right now is at about 20% in the AI field. What's going on is billionaires, apparently the richest man in Japan has just dumped all of his AI stock. The corporations are trying to recalibrate now. So it's a very interesting time in terms of the economy, because people are being told to believe that it's in amazing shape, and all the indicators are that it's not in amazing shape. Um, for those of you who have not been following, I certainly haven't. Um, according to the Midas Touch Network, Trump media stock is now down to about $10 a share, which is a 70% drop. So, if nothing else, um, that impacts, whose net worth. Unemployment is now at 4.4% and going up to 5. Canada was very dominant at the G20. Who wasn't at the G20 was 45. And that G20 was really, really successful because people weren't having to sort of deal with him, his personality, his all of it. And it's considered a very effective, it was a very important, helpful G20. And I'm just gonna say I'm real proud that, Canada and Mark Carney, I mean, that's what it is, right? Had some really strong points to make. One of the things that he said was that, you have to connect climate change, for instance. Most people are just sort of, oh, it's gonna cost so much money. But he was saying that I think it was Jamaica. I could be wrong. But one of the really big like hurricanes that blew through knocked their GDP down by 40%. So what he's saying is it's about, climate change is about economics. It's about profitability. It is about, building things that can withstand that kind of stuff. So that's sort of interesting to just keep in mind. Um, and Elon Musk apparently something happened or he did something. And what he did was he opened up things that were previously blocked so that you could actually see where these original messages or comments or videos were originating. And a huge amount of them have proven to be um, a foreign from outside countries based and they're up there, they're in Russia in particular they have created this online war. They have played such a huge part in that. And listen, Russia's whole operation is to divide and destroy, right? The worse a um democracy is functioning, the better off it is for him. So, there's that. I want to mention one more thing. There is a young guy on YouTube named Adam Muckler, Mockler. He is incredibly smart in terms of understanding the politics and what's going on. And he explains it in a quick, clean, decisive manner. So, for those of you who are interested, I have found him incredibly, incredibly helpful. Just look up Adam Muckler on YouTube and he should pop right up. Okay, so let me get my handy dandy one here and let's take a peek and see what's going on. Um, I will be releasing sort of Trump, the USA in December for next Monday's video. Okay. All right, here we go. What's going on with him? How's he handling this? He's getting a lot of static donors. Donors are pulling back. People that typically would support him are starting to distance themselves because it's just one thing after another with him. And, the mask is starting to fall because he is so bent out of shape um, with all this stuff coming at him that um, he's sort of lost his ability to keep a grip. So around him, things are very, very hectic and chaotic because people don't know what he wants literally from one minute to the next. The very, very best people that he has put in really high positions are proving to be the very, very worst people. He's got the Bondi thing, he's got the Patel thing, he's got the Hexa thing. I mean, it is just a disaster. And with him, when the people around him look bad, he takes it personally and he looks bad. And so all of them seem to be on a very slippery career slope. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds because every time Pam Bondi or Lindsay Halligan or whoever else does something in the courts that he doesn't like or gets caught, that's actually more accurate, gets caught doing something that he doesn't like and they get in trouble, that's just another big black mark against them. And at some point, he's going to start getting rid of these people. And, honestly, the fear is who he might bring in next, right? I mean, God help you. So what's happening is it's not even a day by day, it's almost like an hour by hour, minute by minute basis. He's getting more and more angry and more frustrated. And he's, as a result, becoming more and more erratic. He's starting to do and say things that honestly nobody can spin or justify, except perhaps for that, what's her face, love it, the press secretary, whatever her name is, the blonde. Um, she was asked about Trump calling a reporter Piggy, quiet, Piggy, quiet. That's what he said. And she literally stood there and said, well, one of the things we all know and appreciate about President Trump is his authenticity, and you always know where you stand with him. It's a good thing that like my jaw is attached because it would have fallen to the floor. There is no low that she will not sing to. And you know what? This is the thing. Anybody with a brain in their head listens to that and just is like, get a grip. Like, literally, like this is the best you can come up with. So there's a lot of like when I step into that energy, the energy around him is just chaos. It's just people running around like chickens without heads. They don't know what to do. Because 5 minutes he wanted this and 10 minutes ago he wanted that. And so it's really confusing as to know what to do and how to go with it. And of course we know with him, although lately he's gotten less and less opaque about his commands or demands, right? I mean, he went from being at least somewhat subtle, if you can call it that, in his first term to now just simply, tweeting out his laundry list of what he wants done by the Justice Department on his, media platform. So that's like a really big problem. And frankly, it's a really big issue for him. Again, his health is his health is being impacted by um, the degree of rage and anger that is in him. It's like a pot that's ready to boil over. He can no longer keep the lid on it. And so that's why you hear him saying things like, anybody who doesn't agree with me is a traitor and should be hung, because there's now almost complete disconnect between his, how can I say this? It was always shaky ground. The communications that went on between his brain and what spewed out his mouth. But now a lot of what is spewing out his mouth is emotion. It's coming from hurt and rejection. I mean, his rating numbers, his approval numbers are horrendous. And they're horrendous with MAGAs because MAGAs are the one who are being hurt maybe the hardest because they're in those southern states, and their economies are not that strong. Um, his his having to back down and sign into law the whole releasing of the Epstein files thing was simply a way for him to save face. Because the numbers started adding up and somebody whispered in his ear and said, listen, you're going to lose this. Like there's too many Republicans who are going to side with the Democrats. And so then he thought it was better if he just came out and made a big show of sort of saying, I've got nothing to hide. So that's how that sort of unfolded. Um, And to some degree, as I said, he was assured that sort of some of the damaging stuff wasn't in there. But as I said the last time I talked about this, that Department of Justice can't do anything right. So I can't imagine they got that right either. Texas and the redistricting thing, right? The Supreme Court of Texas has struck it down as can't do that. They have hustled that thing right up to the Supreme Court, um, and that is being reviewed. I guess it falls under Alito's area, but those in the know are saying the whole thing is gonna go to the Supreme Court, like the full court. And so that's going to be interesting because, the way they did it and the way California did it is very, very different, right? Texas just shoved it through, and California voted on it, right? They had that vote, and they asked people, do we want to increase our districts or not? And overwhelmingly they did. Now, remember, in there was sort of the message of if Texas backs down, we'll back down, right? So if Texas is allowed to redistrict, so will California. If Texas can't do it, California won't do it either, which frankly, um, in my opinion, it's a smart thing to do. You know why? Because you don't want to get into this situation where every 5 years somebody's redistricting something so that they can win the midterms or win the federal election. So that's a good thing. And he's losing so much credibility with megas that it's just not even funny. But I think the thing that concerns him the most is the donor support, and he's also getting pressure from I want to say the czar guy, the wannabe czar, and I think China. He's getting pressured to do what they want, okay? And but he's getting pressure everywhere else to not fall into line, but it does feel like they have some sort of compromise, and he's more frightened of them exposing him than he is of um getting taking some flack on home ground. um the um the peace deal treaty thing that he has presented um, with regards to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. What it does basically is it's everything that Russia wants and nothing that will. I mean, it's crazy. Like allow us to take your land, cut your army in half so that you don't have any defense against us. And oh, by the way, you're not allowed to join NATO either. I, I mean, that's ridiculous. And all the other countries are standing up and saying this is unacceptable. That's just not how it's done. But, it has come to everyone's attention that peace deal was negotiated with um, one of the Russian ministers who you darn well know was getting his instructions from the wannabe czar, um, and possibly somebody else. I almost want to say Kushner, but or Rubio, right? And so you have people who, Russia's demanding what it wants, and Trump is basically laying down and saying, give them what they want because. I can tell you this, that December is going to be unbelievably stressful for him. Not only do they have to release um, the files, and as I said, apparently the way the thing is written, that Transparency Act is written, they can't delay it even if it's under investigation unless um, there's sort of a bit of a small carve out for that. But that doesn't mean everything else can't get released, just, I guess, whatever pertains to that specific person or situation. And again, we have since found out that if they have scrubbed anything, that can also be determined. Make no mistake, those Epstein files are now in the hands of at least four outside countries. Um, I think we can guess at the one that starts with an R and the one that starts with a C. Um, and not being told who the others are, but they are countries that have enough push and power, that if 45 steps out of line, they're just going to start releasing this stuff. And I suspect what's going to happen in December is you're going to start getting these dribbles and dribbles and dribbles from the files themselves that are coming from outside of the country. And you're also going to see um, more of those emails being released. And so as we move into December, um, there's going to be a lot of backlash. There's going to be a lot of um, spewing, angry, volatile emotions, reactions, and behavior from him. And again, you know, it gets to the point where if your boss is that boiling pot of water and the pot lid is rattling on the top because there's so much anger in there. If you're smart, as that lid flies off, if you're smart, you back away from the pot. You don't rush in to try to help him. And that's part of what you're going to see is that more and more there's going to be limiting support for what he does. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a huge wave like the vote regarding those files, but it definitely feels like he's going to start losing his edge. He well and truly right now is a lame duck president, and that's not going to change anytime soon because the energies basically are not supporting a recovery for him. They are supporting a continual restriction and downward trend. So I expect um, the month of December to be dicey, and I expect this sort of lame duck behavior to continue to amplify. And listen, that if we thought the whole taco thing name tag like pissed him off, and it really, really did, just imagine how he's relating to lame duck. And isn't it interesting that the names he has are foul? Chickens, ducks. Just saying. Okay, so that's what I know. So next week I'm going to take a deeper dive into the month of December, see what I can figure out. But as for right now, um, notice that things are really, really not going well. And again, I caution you to not get angry at things that um in some ways you can't change. Okay, whether Marjorie Taylor Greene gets her pension or doesn't get her pension, according to what I read there, she's not going to. But the point is that it triggered so many people, and that's exactly what you're trying to avoid is getting triggered, because what happens is you're shooting out all of that frustration and all of that rage, and that just feeds that energy. So as I've said before, and I'll keep on saying it, if you can't stay in a positive space about something that's going on, find benign where there's like not a reaction, because that really is your best bet. What was that saying that I mentioned the other day? Observe, but don't absorb. Um, and know that ultimately things have a way of settling out. Sometimes it takes a really long time, sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot of time, but things find their balance. And for a lot of us on planet Earth, it's really frustrating that we can't see sort of that karma coming back. But make no mistake, I mean, think about it, even now, the man who has lived his life in a completely narcissistic, ego driven, delusional state is now terrified. And he is starting to feel the fear and the scared and the unknown that he has subjected the United States to, and frankly, the world to, with his behavior. And so, even though we can't see the degree to which this is causing suffering or stress or trauma, understand it is. And maybe it's not our place to see it all, even though we would love to because we're just human, you know? Okay, so again, lots of deep breathing, let stuff go. Never take the attitude of, I will never forgive blank for whatever, because all that does is keep the anger festering in you. Because let me tell you know, Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago has no idea that Susie and Johnny are really, really mad at him. He doesn't care. But energetically, it feeds him. Think about that. All righty. I will see you on Friday for Pendulum Friday. Thank you again so much for supporting this channel and being here. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.